Welcome back to another episode of Valuable Coins, where we dive deep into the world of numismatics, uncovering the most valuable and unique coins in the market today. If you're a coin enthusiast, collector, or simply interested in the incredible value of rare coins, you're in the right place. In today's video, we will explore two of the most fascinating and expensive United States coins currently circulating the auction market. First up, the 1949D Abraham Lincoln. Wheat penny is a coin that often finds its way into the hands of collectors, sometimes in ordinary conditions and other times as a nice example of mid-20th century U.S. coinage. When we look at one in fine condition with a few scratches, we are really looking at a piece of history that has been in circulation for many decades and shows the wear of everyday use. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint, and you can see the small D Mint mark right below the date on the obverse side of the coin. Just under the year 1949, the Denver Mint produced more than 153 million of these cents, which means that as a date and mint mark combination, the 1949D is not considered a rare coin overall. The design is the classic Victor David Brenner portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, which was first introduced in 1909 and remains one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. On the reverse, we see the wheat ears that give this series its popular name, the Lincoln wheat cent dot, when a collector calls a coin fine. They are using a grading scale that helps describe the level of wear. Fine condition on a wheat penny usually means that although the coin has been in circulation for a long time, much of the detail is still visible. You can still clearly read the date and mint mark. The lettering is sharp enough to be legible, and Lincoln's profile is complete, though many of the finer details such as hair strands or lines in the wheat stalks are worn down and flat. A fine condition coin has an honest, circulated look, not damaged to the point of being barely recognizable, but not crisp like an uncirculated piece either. On the reverse, the major outlines of the wheat ears are present, but most of the inner lines have worn smooth. The fields will often show contact marks and evidence of handling, which is common for a coin that has been used in commerce for decades. Scratches are an important part of evaluating value, and they can make a difference in price. A scratch may come from rough handling, storage in jars or boxes with other coins, or attempts to clean the surface. Collectors prefer original surfaces and natural toning. When scratches are visible, they often reduce the eye appeal and therefore lower the value. Even so, minor scratches do not completely erase a coin's value, especially when it is an older coin that still has interest among those who build complete sets of wheat pennies. So what is a 1949D wheat penny in fine condition with scratches worth in today's market? Because the mintage was high and the coin is relatively common, values are modest. In average circulated grades like good to fine, these coins typically sell for between 5 cents and 25 cents. With visible scratches, you can expect the coin to fall toward the lower end of that range, perhaps around 5 to 10 cents in most cases. That means that while the coin has a value above face, it is not a rare or expensive item in this grade. However, collectors who are trying to complete a year and mint mark set may still want one, even in fine condition, so there is a small demand. In higher grades, especially uncirculated examples with original red color, prices climb significantly. Nice mint state coins can bring anywhere from $20 to $100 or more, and the very finest certified examples have sold for several $100s at major auctions. That shows the huge gap in value between worn, circulated examples and top-grade pieces. Collectors look for a few special things in 1940-90 cents that can raise value dramatically. Errors such as repunched mint marks, die cracks, or off-center strikes are sought after. A coin in mint state with full original red color is worth far more than one that has toned to brown. Certified coins and holders from PCGs or NGC are trusted by buyers and often bring premium prices. Your coin in fine condition with scratches is not in that category, but it is still part of the long and fascinating history of the Lincoln Cent series. If you want to sell such a coin, you would most likely place it in a bulk lot of wheat pennies, where each coin adds a little to the overall value. Or you could list it individually online for a small premium overface. Dealers and collectors often buy these as fillers until they can upgrade to a better example. Even though its cash value is small, the coin has historical charm, representing post-World War II America and the long-running design that so many people remember handling in their daily lives.
First up, the 1986 P. Washington quarter dollar is one of the fascinating coins to explore for collectors, especially when found in an unusual condition such as having a black color shade or appearing dirty from age and circulation. Even though most 1986 quarters are common, the specific look, patina, and state of preservation can make each coin unique. This particular coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which can be identified by the small letter P located just to the right of Washington's ponytail on the obverse side. In 1986, the Philadelphia Mint produced more than 550 million quarters, so in general circulation, this coin is not rare. However, collectors still enjoy finding pieces that stand out, whether through toning, color changes, or unusual surface conditions. The composition of the 1986 quarter is copper-nickel clad, not silver. It has a copper core with nickel outer layers, which explains why some coins from this period develop darker tones over time. When a coin like this stays exposed to air, moisture, or certain environmental conditions, the metal reacts and forms oxidation or patina, giving it a black or dark gray appearance. Some collectors appreciate naturally toned coins, while others see them as damaged. The difference depends on whether the surface shows even, natural toning or heavy grime and corrosion that hides the coin's details. In this case, a black or dirty coin can suggest long-term exposure to humidity or storage in a less than ideal place, such as a damp drawer or an outdoor environment. When evaluating the value of such a coin, several key factors come into play. The first is overall condition, known as the grade. If a coin is in good condition and details like Washington's hairlines, the word Liberty, and the eagle's feathers on the reverse are still visible and clear, it will have a higher grade. However, when dirt or black spots cover the surface and reduce the visibility of design elements, it drops in grade and in value. The second factor is whether the coin has any minting errors or special varieties. Some 1986 quarters may show doubling, off-center strikes, or other errors that can raise their worth dramatically. If your coin has any of these traits, it may be worth getting it examined by a professional grading company. In terms of general market prices, circulated 1986 P quarters usually sell for around 25 cents to 50 cents, basically their face value. Coins in better, uncirculated condition can be worth a few dollars. Exceptional pieces that have been certified by grading companies like PCGS or NGC and receive grades of MS67 or higher can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. In fact, a top-graded 1986 P quarter once sold at auction for about $2,880, a remarkable amount for a modern coin. However, a black or dirty coin would not reach anywhere near that record because the grading services prefer coins with clean, original luster and well-preserved details. For a 1986 quarter that appears dark and dirty, the value usually stays in a modest range. A heavily toned or blackened coin with strong detail might still interest collectors who appreciate unusual patinas, and such a coin could bring $5 to $20, depending on its eye appeal. If the surface is dull, rough, or corroded, the coin would likely sell for less than $1, as most buyers view it as a circulated example. Some auction bidders pay slightly more for coins with even natural toning that adds character, but not for coins where dirt or discoloration obscures the design. Cleaning the coin aggressively to make it look shiny is not recommended, because that can permanently scratch the surface and lower its value further. Professional conservation is the safest option if you believe the coin hides better detail underneath.
Next up, the 1956D Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny is one of the more common coins from the Wheat Cent series. Yet it still holds a place of interest for collectors who enjoy building full-year and mint mark sets. Struck at the Denver Mint in 1956. This coin carries the small d mint mark below the date. And with a total mintage of over 1 billion pieces, it is by no means rare in the general sense. However, even a coin with such a large mintage can have collectible value depending on its condition, eye appeal, or if it shows any interesting varieties. The example we are talking about here is described as being in dirty condition with some scratches, which gives us a chance to explore how those factors affect its value in today's market. When looking at a coin described as dirty, collectors usually interpret this to mean that the coin has surface discoloration, grime, or residue from long circulation. Dirt alone does not always damage a coin permanently, but it can hide the details and lower the eye appeal. Cleaning is not recommended, because cleaning often leaves scratches or unnatural brightness that can reduce the value even further. If dirt is light and the coin is otherwise sound, many collectors prefer to leave it in original condition, even if it looks dull or unattractive. Scratches, however, are another story. A coin that has been scratched will almost always be worth less than one that has simply worn down naturally, since scratches are seen as damage rather than honest circulation were thought so. What is a 1956D Lincoln Wheat Penny in dirty condition with scratches worth today? Because of the very high mintage, circulated examples are plentiful and sell for only small premiums over face value. In circulated grades such as good, very good, fine, or very fine, the value generally ranges from about 3 cents to 15 cents, depending on how clean and attractive the coin looks. A coin that is dirty and scratched will almost certainly fall on the lower end of that spectrum, around 3 to 5 cents in today's market. It is not considered rare, and even dealers often sell them in bulk lots rather than individually because of how common they are. On the other hand, if a 1956D penny is found in uncirculated condition with full original red color, its value can be much higher. Mint state coins are worth anywhere from $1 to $10 depending on the grade, and exceptionally well-preserved pieces graded MS66 or higher by a top grading service like PCGS or NGC can reach into the tens or even hundreds of dollars. The very finest examples with strong red luster have sold for even more at auction. This shows the big difference between a worn, damaged coin and a pristine, high-grade specimen. Collectors often look for varieties in the 1956D issue. Some examples have repunched mint marks, where the D appears doubled or tripled because of how it was punched into the die. These varieties can be worth several dollars even in circulated grades and more in higher grades. Errors such as off-center strikes or clipped planchettes can also add interest and value. However, for a normal 1956D penny in dirty, scratched condition, the value remains modest. If you were to sell this coin, the best route would be in a mixed group of wheat pennies, where buyers are willing to pay a small premium per coin for bulk lots. Individually, a coin in this condition would not fetch much more than face value, so it is often best kept as a piece of history or given to a beginner collector. Despite the low price, there is still educational value in holding one of these pieces, because it represents the end years of the Wheat Penny series and shows the kind of where that coins naturally develop after decades in circulation.
Next up, the 1978 Washington Quarter Dollar is a coin that continues to capture attention among collectors, especially when it comes with unusual characteristics such as a black shade, a dirty surface, or visible scratches. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why it carries no mint mark. The 1978 quarters are part of the long-running Washington Quarter series that began in 1932 and remains one of the most familiar designs in American coinage. Though the earlier issues were made of silver, the 1978 quarter is actually composed of copper-nickel clad, meaning it has a copper core with outer layers of nickel. Many people still refer to it as a silver quarter because of its silvery appearance. But by this year, the true silver content had long been removed from circulation coins. Over time, the metal combination used in these coins can react with moisture, air, and environmental conditions, which sometimes causes the coin to darken or develop a black tone. This dark coloration may be due to oxidation or surface contamination, especially if the coin was stored improperly or exposed to humidity. A dirty or blackened coin can also show small patches of corrosion, and if it has scratches, it is further downgraded in condition. Collectors tend to prefer coins that still display original luster, but natural toning that appears even and attractive can sometimes add minor aesthetic appeal. However, heavy grime or uneven dark spots generally reduce the value, as they hide important design details and make grading more difficult. When evaluating the value of a 1978 Washington quarter without a mint mark, several factors must be considered. The Philadelphia Mint struck more than 521 million quarters that year, which makes this coin quite common in circulation. Most examples found today are well-worn and trade close to face value, around 25 to 50 cents. If the coin is in a higher grade, showing clear hair details on Washington's portrait and sharp feathers on the eagle on the reverse, it can reach a few dollars. Coins that have been carefully preserved in mint condition or certified by professional grading services can reach much higher prices. For example, top-graded pieces in mint state 67 or better have sold for hundreds, and one of the finest known examples achieved around $1,200 at auction. However, a coin that appears black, dirty, and scratched falls into the lower grading category. In this case, the scratches and dirt indicate circulation wear and possible environmental damage. That means its grade would likely be good to fine at best, which keeps its value very modest. The black color might draw curiosity, but unless the toning looks naturally beautiful or unique, most collectors would not pay a premium for it. A coin in such condition might sell for around 50 cents to $5, depending on how noticeable the details still are. If the scratches are deep or the surfaces are uneven, the value could drop closer to face value. Even though the 1978 quarter is not rare, it is still worth examining for any minting errors or varieties that could change its price dramatically. Occasionally, off-center strikes, double dies, or missing clad layers appear among 1978 issues, and those can raise the value into the tens or even hundreds of dollars. Looking at the coin carefully under magnification is important to rule out any special features. But if the coin only shows normal wear, dirt, and discoloration, then it remains a regular circulation piece.
Next up, the 1945 Abraham Lincoln. Wheat penny without a mint mark is a coin that came out of the Philadelphia Mint during the closing year of World War II. And millions upon millions of them were produced for everyday commerce. This makes the date very common overall. But when we look at a coin described as being in full damage condition with scratches, you have to carefully separate its historic importance from its market value. The 1945 cent is part of the wheat penny series, a design that ran from 1909 until 1958. On the obverse is the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. And on the reverse are the familiar twin wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This design became iconic in American numismatics, and nearly every collector begins with wheat pennies. For the 1945 issue, the Philadelphia Mint struck more than 1 billion coins, making it one of the highest mintage dates of the entire wheat series. Because of that massive supply, finding a 1945 penny is not unusual. Even today, they often turn up in old coin jars, estate collections, or in the hands of collectors who saved them when they were still circulating. A Philadelphia coin from this year does not carry a mint mark. So if you look just under the date and see no letter, you know it is from Philadelphia when a coin is described as being in full damaged condition. That typically means it has more than just ordinary wear. It might have heavy scratches, bends, corrosion, pitting, holes, or surface problems that go beyond the smooth flattening of details caused by circulation. Collectors draw a big distinction between circulated wear, which is natural and expected, and damage, which is considered unnatural and harmful. A damaged coin may have been cleaned with abrasives, scraped against other objects, exposed to chemicals, or even intentionally altered. Once a coin is in full damage condition, it no longer fits into the normal grading scale like good fine or extremely fine, because it is simply seen as damaged. Scratches are among the most common types of damage. They can come from being stored in jars with other coins, rubbing against sharp surfaces, or attempts at cleaning. A scratched coin is often worth far less than a worn but undamaged coin of the same date and mint mark. Dirt or discoloration can sometimes be overlooked by collectors, but deep scratches across a design are usually a deal-breaker for anyone seeking a nice, collectible example. So what does this mean for the 1945 Philadelphia wheat penny in fully damaged condition with scratches? The reality is that in today's market, such a coin is worth very little above its face value of 1 cent. Most of these examples will trade for about 1 cent to, perhaps, 2 cents if included in a bulk lot of wheat pennies. Dealers and collectors generally pass over heavily damaged coins because they are so common in better condition. For context, a normal 1945 wheat penny, in average, circulated condition but without major damage, might bring 3 cents to 10 cents. A nicer, uncirculated example can bring $1 to $5 depending on color and grade. The best high-end coins, certified in mint state with full original red color, can bring $20 to $50 or more. And the very finest known pieces, graded MS67 red, have sold for hundreds at auction. But once a coin is in damaged condition, none of those higher levels of value apply. That does not mean the coin is worthless in every sense. For a new collector just learning about wheat pennies, even a damaged 1945 cent can be an interesting educational piece. It shows the basic design, the date, and the history of coins made in the wartime period. It can also be used as a filler in a coin album until a better example is found. Some people even use heavily damaged wheat pennies for jewelry, crafts, or decorative art, where the collectible value is less important than the visual appeal of an old copper coin.
Next up, the 1983 P. Washington quarter dollar is an interesting piece for collectors, mainly because coins from this year were struck in relatively large numbers, but often show signs of heavy circulation. The coin was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, as shown by the letter P on the obverse side next to Washington's ponytail. Despite sometimes being called a silver quarter by the public, the 1983 quarter is not actually made of silver. By this time, all regular United States quarters were composed of a copper nickel clad, which means they have a copper core with outer layers of nickel. This gives the coin a silver-like shine when new, though its true metallic content is entirely different from earlier silver quarters struck before 1965. One key fact about the 1983 quarter is that there were no official mint sets released to the public that year. Because of this, very few 1983 quarters were saved in pristine condition. Most were used in everyday commerce, and the majority of surviving coins show noticeable wear or scratches, even those described as being in good condition. That makes high-grade uncirculated examples relatively scarce compared to other years from the same decade. Collectors often look for these coins in well-preserved states because they represent one of the tougher modern issues to find in top grades. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, with the word Liberty above and the date 1983 below. The reverse side shows the majestic eagle perched with spread wings. The details in the feathers and the sharpness of the eagle's body are among the main features used to assess condition. A coin in good condition, even with some scratches, still shows a decent level of detail in these areas and retains clear lettering around the edges. Because 1983 quarters were heavily used, finding one in good condition is quite normal. In this condition, the coin has moderate wear, some surface marks, and scratches, but all key design elements remain visible. It does not have the brilliance of an uncirculated piece, yet it still carries collector interest because of the mint year's history. The Philadelphia Mint produced about 673 million of these coins, so they are common in circulation, but higher-grade examples are harder to find. In the current collector and auction market, the value of a 1983 P. Washington quarter depends greatly on condition. A circulated coin in good condition with a few scratches typically holds a value between face value and about $1. If the coin shows strong details, even wear, and no major damage, it might sell for a little more to a collector who needs that specific mint year. Coins that are in mint state, meaning they were never used and retain their original shine, can reach higher prices. Some of the finest certified examples graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC have sold for hundreds or even over $1,000, with one record, 1983 P quarter, selling for more than $1,500 at auction. However, with your coin being in good condition and showing some scratches, its value would fall on the lower side of that spectrum. In typical sales or small auctions, such a coin would likely bring around 50 cents to $3. If the scratches are light and the overall appearance remains pleasing, a collector might pay closer to the higher end of that range. If the scratches are deeper or the surface is dull, the price would stay near face value. It is always worth checking closely for minting errors or unusual features. Some 1983 quarters are known for die cracks, doubling, or missing clad layers. These error varieties can significantly increase value, sometimes into the tens or hundreds of dollars, depending on rarity and visibility. Using a magnifying glass or microscope to inspect the date, lettering, and edges can help identify any such features.
Next up, the 1951 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark is a coin struck at the Philadelphia Mint. And while it is a very common date in the wheat cent series, it still carries a certain charm and collector interest. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 284 million of these coins in 1951. So as a whole, the issue is not rare. What makes any given example more desirable to collectors depends on its grade, color, and surface condition. In this case, the coin is described as having a red color shade, being in very fine condition, and showing some scratches. All of these details play an important role in understanding its place in today's market. The design of the Lincoln wheat penny had by this point been in use for more than 40 years. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse was already one of the most iconic images on American coinage. The reverse, with its two wheat ears framing the denomination, remained popular among collectors and the general public alike. By 1951, the design was still strong, though in a few years it would be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Cent in 1959. These wheat cents from the early 1950s represent the later years of the series, and many people saved them out of nostalgia or as keepsakes. The note that this coin has a red color shade is an interesting one. Copper coins naturally tone over time, often changing from their original bright red to a mix of red and brown, and eventually to full brown. Collectors value red coins highly because they are closer to the way the coin looked when it was first struck. A 1951 cent that still shows a red shade, even in circulated very fine condition, has eye appeal. However, because the coin has also been described as scratched, that eye appeal is diminished. Scratches tend to interrupt the smooth surfaces of the coin and are seen as damage rather than natural wear. They can come from rough handling, being stored with other coins, or attempts to clean the surface. When we combine all of these factors, Philadelphia issue, very fine grade, red shade, and some scratches, we can arrive at a realistic market value. In general, 1951 Philadelphia wheat penny in circulated condition is worth about 3 cents to 10 cents. Very fine examples may bring closer to 10 cents if they are free of damage. A coin with attractive red color might carry a slight premium in higher grades. But in circulated grades like very fine, the color does not raise the value by much. The presence of scratches will push the coin toward the lower end of the scale. So realistically, this coin is worth about 5 cents in today's market. Maybe a little more if sold to someone filling a collection for comparison. A truly high-grade 1951 penny one in mint state with full red luster can sell for much more. Mint state 65 red examples often bring $10 to $20. And the finest certified coins graded MS 67 red have sold for hundreds at major auctions. That illustrates the huge gap in value between a circulated coin with scratches and a pristine, fully red, uncirculated coin. Collectors who seek out the 1951 Matisse are usually assembling complete wheat cent collections. They will often settle for a circulated example to fill the date and mint mark slot, upgrading later if they find a higher grade coin. A scratched coin in very fine condition can still serve as a placeholder. And for new collectors or those buying bulk lots of wheat cents, it still has small value. While the financial value is modest, the historical value is greater. This coin circulated in the early 1950s, a time when the United States was recovering from World War II and entering a new era of prosperity. It would have been used in shops, diners, and gas stations, carrying the image of Lincoln as a symbol of national unity. Holding one today, even with scratches, connects us to that history. In conclusion, a 1951 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark, in very fine condition, with a red shade but also with scratches, is worth around 5 cents in today's coin market. It is not a rare or high-value piece, but it is still part of the beloved wheat penny series. And for collectors, it has both historical and educational importance. It may not be a coin that makes headlines at auction, but it remains a small and meaningful artifact of American history.
Next up, the 1980 D. Washington quarter dollar is an appealing coin for many collectors because it marks the first full decade of the modern copper-nickel-clad quarter era. Although many people still refer to it as a silver quarter due to its color, it is not actually made of silver. By 1980, the United States Mint had long stopped using silver for circulating quarters, having switched to a copper-nickel composition in 1965. The 1980 D quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, which is identified by the small letter D located to the right of George Washington's ponytail on the obverse side. This coin features the familiar design by John Flanagan, with the profile of George Washington on the obverse and the eagle with spread wings on the reverse. Over time, the quarter became one of the most commonly used coins in American commerce. The Denver Mint produced an impressive total of more than 518 million quarters in 1980, which means this coin is not rare in circulation. However, fine condition examples that have survived decades of use with only light scratches and visible detail are still appreciated by collectors who enjoy finding older coins in decent shape. In fine condition, the 1980 D. Washington quarter shows moderate wear on Washington's hair and face, though most major features remain clear. The eagle on the reverse should still have visible wings and leg details, even if some of the finer lines have worn down. Light scratches on the surface are common from handling and circulation, but should not severely affect the coin's overall appearance. A fine-grade coin like this retains strong lettering, a solid rim, and balanced wear across both sides. The composition of the coin, with its copper core and nickel outer layers, means it can sometimes develop a darker or grayish tone over time. This is natural oxidation and does not necessarily reduce the value as long as it does not hide important details or cause corrosion. Some collectors even appreciate a little natural toning because it shows the coin's age and authenticity. When it comes to value, the 1980D Washington quarter remains a common issue. Circulated examples, even those in fine condition, generally sell for their face value of 25 cents up to around $1. However, coins that are extremely well preserved, showing minimal wear and strong luster, can reach higher values. Uncirculated examples in mint state grades can range from about $5 to $50, depending on their sharpness and surface quality. The top-graded specimens certified by professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC have achieved prices in the hundreds, with the record sale for a 1980D quarter in MS-67 grade reaching around $1,000 at auction. Since your coin is described as being in fine condition with some scratches, its market value would most likely fall toward the lower end of that range. In everyday collector markets or small auctions, it could sell for between 50 cents and $2. The light scratches are normal for circulated pieces and would not completely diminish its collectible appeal, but they do prevent it from reaching higher grades or commanding premium prices. Collectors looking for 1980D quarters often seek coins with sharp strikes, clean fields, and no signs of cleaning or damage. Harshly cleaning the coin to remove scratches or brighten its surface is not recommended, as that can permanently harm the finish and lower the value even further. The best approach is to preserve the coin as it is, storing it in a dry, protective holder to prevent future oxidation or wear. It's also worth examining your coin closely under magnification to check for any minting errors. Quarters from this period occasionally show minor die cracks, off-center strikes, or doubling on the lettering or date. Such errors can raise the value significantly, even for circulated coins. If any of these traits are found, professional authentication may be worthwhile.